Hello, I want to talk today a little bit about different temperaments on dulcimers. I've got three McSpaddens here which have three different temperaments. This first one here, the hourglass, is in quarter comma Meantone temperament. The middle one is in just intonation, and the far one is in equal temperament. So pretty much every single dulcimer you buy today is in equal temperament, so that's effectively a standard modern dulcimer. So I'm just going to run through some of the differences between these types of temperament. First off, let's start with equal temperament dulcimer. In equal temperament, the dulcimer fretboard or scale is actually split into sonically equal spaces. So the complete octave, or a complete octave, is split down into 12 different semitones, and each semitone is 100 cents apart. And then on a dulcimer, all we do is use effectively a guitar fretboard calculator, and we take out the frets we don't want, and you end up with the dulcimer scale. And it works very well, and it sounds fine. It's very adaptable. It means that you can use a lot of different tunings, you can use a lot of different chord shapes on it, and it's probably the most adaptable of all the temperaments. It has one or two problems. If you're a noted drone player in particular, you do end up with a fairly harsh sounding scale, particularly the third of the scale and the sixth of the scale, which are sharp of realistically where your ears want them to be. The other extreme from equal temperament is just intonation. And in just intonation, the frets are set so that the melody notes are the least dissonant with the bass note. And so it ends up sounding a little sweeter than equal temperament. The major difference is the third of the scale and the sixth of the scale, although the seventh is also slightly flat in just intonation. Let me just compare these two for you. You can hear this is flat. Again, just intonation slightly flat. Definitely on the third of the scale, just intonation is slightly flat. Sixth of the scale. Seventh of the scale. So if you look at the two fretboards, there's an obvious difference here between the gap. They're both the same scale length, and there's an obvious difference here between the gap of the frets. So you can see that the two systems are quite different. If you are building a dulcimer and setting the frets by ear as they used to set them, you're more than likely to end up with this just intonation. In fact, I'll show you. Okay, here is a Homer Ledford dulcimer, and if you listen to the comparison across here, you'll see what I mean. They're very, very close indeed. So it's most likely that when Homer set his frets, he did set them by running his bass string, putting his bass string on, putting his melody string a perfect fifth above, and then setting his frets to the least amount of dissonance. The third temperament I'd like to look at is quarter comma meantone. Now, if you like, this is the natural scale. Then the problem with the natural scale is that this works beautifully in 155 tuning, but when I change the tunings, or if I try and chord, then that will throw this scale out. Okay, so it's a natural scale, but it is relatively limited. JI works nicely in Mixolydian if you're doing it in 5/1/1, and it works okay in Aeolian as well, not in Dorian. It's as soon as you come here, the spacing here for your second in Dorian sounds quite sour. To get around this problem, one of the earliest forms of temperament was quarter comma meantone. And that's what this dulcimer is set in, and that is based around a perfect third. So it's based around getting a nice sounding third. It's slightly different from equal temperament in that again we've got a very slightly flattened third, slightly flattened sixth and a slightly flattened seventh, but not as much as we have in just intonation. Quarter comma meantone mellows out equal temperament, so it's a little bit more rounded than equal temperament, but it will also work for chording and it will also work in DAD tuning, because the flattened elements, when you're playing in DAD, it's very easy to just pull the few cents sharp that you actually need to get your chord shapes to work really sweetly. So it's a good compromise. So just to run through the three of them again, we've got equal temperament, very flexible and absolutely fine for noted drone playing. It's a little harsh, but you can adjust your tuning to try and mellow it out a bit, but it's very, very adaptable. You can use it for lots of different tunings and it'll work in DAD chording, it'll work in DAA chording. Quarter comma meantone, a nice mid-compromise. It will work in a lot of different tunings. It sounds very rich. It's a little difficult to just set it up initially because the fourth isn't perfect and neither is the fifth, so you need a little bit of a compromise with your tuning just to get it to sound right, and then it'll play beautifully. And just intonation, absolutely perfect in 155, fine in 5/1/1 and fine in 157, doesn't chord, and a little bit more complex, but if you are basically a 155 player, then it's perfect. So I hope that's been useful to you, to look at the different possibilities you have when ordering a dulcimer for the temperament you might want. And finally, I'd like to say a big thank you to Jim Woods at McSpadden Dulcimers for making these beautiful instruments for me.